Hello, I'm your host, Leonard Duncan. Welcome to a new episode of ATV-TALK and Motorsports Podcast. Please join us every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We bring you interviews with industry professionals, live events, live news about the motorsports industry in every episode. Enjoy the show. Whether we are out riding with our friends and family or racing in extreme environments, we all need good tires. That's why I recommend GBC Power Sports Tires, a division of Greenball Corp. Their products, which include XC Master, Mini Master, and Groundbuster 3, are what leading professionals in the ATV-UTV industry are using. You can get your tires at greenballtires.com or find them on Instagram as GBC Tires for further inquiries. Are you looking for the best suspension technology for your sport ATV? Look no further than Elka Suspension, the industry leader in sport ATV suspension technology. With championship wins in prestigious events such as the Dakar Rally, Score, Best in the Desert, ATV MX, Cross Country, and Works, Elka Suspension has established itself as the go-to choice for athletes and enthusiasts alike. But they don't just stop at ATVs. They're constantly expanding into new markets, including UTVs, trucks, SUVs, pit bikes, snowmobiles, and more. Their commitment to innovation and quality means they're always looking to improve and adapt so you can enjoy a smooth ride wherever you go. Want to learn more about what Elka Suspension can do for you? Visit their website at elkasuspension.com or give them a call at 450-655-4855. They will always be happy to answer your questions and help you find the perfect suspension solution for your needs. Welcome to DBR Racing Products, the leader in 3D modeling and innovations. Since 2015, they have been revolutionizing the industry, starting with their groundbreaking YFZ 450R battery boxes. But they didn't stop there. They have continued to push the boundaries, constantly improving their design with each new version. In 2018, they introduced the game-changing Vortex EXO cage, specifically designed to securely hold the Vortex ECU in a safe and sturdy location. This breakthrough innovation ensures your ECU stays protected even in the toughest racing conditions. At DBR, they understand that every detail matters. That's why they also offer an array of essential products to enhance your racing experience. Their spark plug hold downs keep your engine firing at peak performance, while their LTR breather boxes ensure optimal ventilation for your machine. Their LT250 engine skid plates are a must-have for those seeking unmatched protection. Engineered to shield your engine from impacts and rough terrain, they provide the ultimate defense for your ATV. But that's not all. They've developed ProPeg mounts that allow you to use TRX 450R Nerf bars, giving you greater control and maneuverability on the track. To explore their full range of innovative products and learn more about DBR Racing, visit their website at www.dbratv.com. You can also reach them directly at 507-828-1233. Their knowledgeable team is ready to assist you with any questions or inquiries. DBR Racing Products, where innovation meets performance. Unleash the power within you. Wrangel, welcome back to ATV Talk. Yeah, good shot of your face right there. I mean,
all right.
As soon as we start recording, jump in there. Yep. There we go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, looks good.
All right. Wrangel, welcome back to ATV Talk, sir. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing good here.
So you've had quite the eventful year. Before we get rolling, I'm just going to let everybody know I got to ride this machine in the desert a few weeks ago, and it's a nice ride. It really is. everybody boasts on their stuff, and David Ham boasts on his, which is a nice ride as well.
Absolutely.
Out of the tests that I did with you guys, obviously your machine and his machine were the cream of the crop. Nothing to say anything bad about the other machines that were there. Well, we could talk about one that was bad, but we won't. But we had a great time. We really did. And I'm going to turn this volume down just a touch so it doesn't squawk so much. There we go. But yeah, we had a great time out in the desert. In Arizona. You were fortunate enough to be out there with us. But you've had a very, very busy year. Why don't you get a little bit into what you've been doing this year?
Well, it kind of started off interesting because the end of 2021, I built a Yamaha conversion similar to this one, but quite a bit different. And I immediately saw quite a few flaws that I wanted to fix. And so, and I knew what I wanted to do. And so I acquired this machine. This is a whole different platform. And I started to build it. And I, built the swing arm, the subframe, a lot of little pieces here and there, full exhaust. I do all that. I build the seat. And of course I use High Flight Seat Foam. They're a good sponsor of mine. But I wanted to get it done for Vegas to Reno this year, and I didn't make it. Unfortunately, I was just too busy with my new business and in life and everything, and I just didn't quite get it done. And so I set out to do Vegas to Reno. It's all I wanted. I've got something to prove there, I guess, and everybody's head hunting for me on that race. So and I didn't quite get it done, and we're about 3 weeks out on Vegas to Reno, and I just called it. I just called everybody and said, hey, I can't do it, and just too busy. And the bike was, unfortunately, the engine was all sitting there on the shelf, all new, cryo process the engine and everything, and all new parts and everything was sitting there, and the bike just needed full assembly. And it takes me, I'm kind of slow, so, but it takes me to fully assemble this machine and build it the way I did. It took me about 2.5 weeks. Because I'm really picky and really methodical with everything. And I measure everything, all my cylinder clearances, my ring gaps, my everything, all my bearing clearances, my end tolerances. And anyways, so I got a call from Best in the Desert, and they said, hey, we're going to do a throwaway race. So that means you could still go out for a championship. And I thought about it for a minute, and I hadn't even thought about a championship. Who doesn't want a championship, right? So I thought about it for a minute. I thought, you know what? I think I can make this happen. But I'm going to have to race the Honda for the first race, which was the Silver State 300. And because this wasn't quite done. So I prepped the Honda, got it ready, and went out and raced the Silver State 300 on the Honda, and that was its final race. Unfortunately, I did some pretty good damage to it, and it was a great race, super smooth. Never even knew I hurt it until after the race. But anyways, it's hurt, and so it was good timing because I got this wrapped up, and and at the same time, and I didn't plan this, but at the same time, I said I was talking to BJ and Laura, the owners of Laura. And I thought about it, and I thought, and they were going to do the Gold Rush race this year, which is a brand new race. It's a little more than half of Vegas to Reno backwards. So it starts close to Reno, and then it basically pit 13 on Vegas to Reno course, and then it goes backwards to Tonopah, 346 miles or something. And so, anyways, so that race came up, and I wanted to do that, and I thought about it. I thought, what the heck, man? We're going to go out for 2 championships this year. And man, what a thrash fest! So, but we got it done. So,
and you also rode Nora, right?
Yeah, we actually raced Nora, thanks to my good friend Lyle Tonelli. Nick Tonelli, his son, contacted me in 21 and they asked me to race in 22. But then I wasn't able to do that. And so we raced it this spring with Chris Kiefner and Julian Hofer, Lyle Tonelli, and then myself. And yeah, we won that. That was the first race of the year. So that was an unbelievable experience. I'm in love with Baja after that, for sure.
Have you had any more dealings with Score at all, trying to get them to allow three-wheelers again?
So it's funny because everybody keeps asking me about this, and I'll be totally honest with you, you know, and everybody else. When I talked to them, they were getting ready to do the Baja 400. I believe they were super busy, and I was talking to them about this year, and Roger Norman, and you know, the guys, they're all great, but they, you know, I get it, they're super busy and they didn't have time to talk about it. But basically what they want is they want 5 solid entries to create a class. And I just don't see why. The problem is getting 5 guys to say, yes, we'll absolutely do this. We're gonna, here's my money, you know, without it there being a class in the first place is unrealistic in my opinion. If they created the class, then I would almost guarantee you we would have 5 entries. I myself would be interested. I know Bill Casey, TPC, they're interested. I know Kevin Adcock, his team, they're interested. So there's 3 solid right there. Another buddy of mine from Texas, Chris, he most likely would put together a team with a 250R. And then Steve Wright, he's talking about doing it too. And so, I mean, there's 5 right there, but nobody's going to commit 100% without Score just saying, hey, here's, like, give us the class, I'll give you the entries. You can't ask for the entries before there's a class. Anyways. So I'm going to work on it some more. I figured after the first of the year, when everything cools down, Scores, you know, got a little more time, I can talk to Roger Norman. And luckily I have a really good contact, and I should be able to hopefully have him see what I believe is what needs to happen.
Do you think that there's going to be any blowback from any of the series letting you race because of the latest involvement with the Consumer Protection Agency getting involved again with the three-wheeler production, supposedly? Do you think that's going to affect the ability to keep racing three-wheelers?
I don't at all. They don't have the right to tell us that we can or can't race. And they also don't have the right to stop us from making parts. That's the cool thing. What they do, they really don't have the right to tell us anything, but they are basically demanding that nobody builds new machines for sale. I don't do that. TPC doesn't do that. Nobody I know of does that except for the other company down in Arizona. They were doing that, but they've stopped. But they can't stop us from making parts. So I can still build everything I build for these, and we can sell them, and they're for competition use only. And that's the key. Bill Casey is done a ton of research on this stuff. Very smart guy. He, as long as you put on there for competition use only, then you're kind of covered. But you still can't build machines and sell them. So, but as far as racing goes, no, it's not going to affect it. We'll still be fine, and I think there's still going to be plenty. It's going to slow guys down because you had a lot more guys that were building stuff, and now they're kind of backing off, and so it's going to slow people down on builds. But more people are going to have to do either garage builds or get a hold of there's plenty of guys out there that are building parts. Some smart guys out there, and depending on what platform you want, you could still build them and race them.
What's the top speed on your machine?
Top speed? That's secret to knowledge right there. So we hit with the YZ platform. This is not a YZ. With the YZ platform, we hit 84.4 miles an hour Vegas to Reno. on one of and it only captures a moment every 7 minutes. So we could have went way faster than that, but we hit 84.4 miles an hour, and it was never opened up fully. And that was Vegas Reno. This is a different platform, and it has about a 15 mile an hour faster top speed. So I think we're well into the triple digits with this one.
How comfortable do you think that you'll be at that speed?
I've taken this one up. I've taken this one up to real close to triple digits. And I was comfortable enough on it that it felt good. It felt good, and I would do it. I would do it in certain instances, like Vegas to Reno. There's some straight stretches where it's just smooth as a highway, as fast as you're comfortable going. This one here, the point wasn't to do triple digits. I mean, the point was to increase my cruising speed. So the one thing that, like 2022, at my cruising speed, I was 3, 4, 5 miles an hour faster than all the other trikes, but that was my cruising speed. That wasn't my max speed. And there's some new bikes being built for Vegas to Reno and stuff specifically. They're coming for me. And I knew that they had higher top speeds. And so I wanted to increase, I had that buffer, but it was going to go away if I didn't do something. So I built this machine, and it's got another 10 or 15 miles an hour over the top of that old one. So basically my cruising speed, I can cruise close to 90 miles an hour on this thing. It's pretty absurd.
It is. Yeah. When I got to ride it, I didn't get anywhere close to that. So
Yeah.
well, the area that we rode it was kind of more of a tighter technical with no super long straightaways.
That was a good test course.
One of the things that I wanted to ask you is, I know I got to ride Ham's bike and your bike back to back, actually. Did you get to ride his machine?
I did.
So for me, I was very surprised. You have two totally different builders with two totally different brands, and I was amazed at how similar they were.
They're very similar. I would say that, and in TPC's defense, by the way, that David Ham's machine that you rode, that is a MX track, a little bit of desert, but that's more of a track, work series type bike. So it's built completely different than their desert bike, like the TPC desert bike. Their desert bike is, they're a little bigger, they're a little heavier, beefed up a bit for, hitting those rocks and stuff at speed. So it is a little bit different machine. But that being said, I think that David Ham's machine, personal machine, is closer to what this, what my YZ was. It's a little bit shorter wheelbase, and it felt to me like it's a great machine. Holy cow, that thing is fun. I would love to ride that thing in the dunes. But it felt to me like it was like every time you get on the throttle, I mean, the thing makes crazy power. And every time you got on the throttle, it just, the front end would come up. And I found that, and it's typical of the three-wheeler anyways, but I've done a lot to mitigate that problem on my machine personally. We tucked the front wheel back with the negative brake clamps that I helped design, and then I built an 1.25 inch longer swing arm, and that just moved all the weight forward, and it really helped keep the front end planted on mine. So yeah, they're totally different, but they are. I was actually surprised how similar they really were. They felt you could jump on either one. His had more of a classic feel to it, kind of a more traditional three-wheeler, which, depending on what you like, if that's what you're used to, that's what you're gonna like. I personally like this one because of the seat height versus the foot peg height. It's really a dirt bike, and so your legs aren't super bent, and so it's just easier to stand up, and it's just I don't know, it's more confidence inspiring position in my opinion.
I didn't spend enough time on there to get real deep into those kind of details. One of
Yeah,
the things that, because I'm a front breaker, I
yeah.
noticed that both machines uh, seemed a little soft in the front,
In the front,
right on the top of the suspension, where you touch that brake, they seem to want to just dip.
yeah,
We talked about it when we were out there,
yeah,
and it's not something that you and Dave really noticed or felt was an issue. It was just
yeah,
something in that environment where I was used to using more front brake,
yeah,
that's why I noticed it.
yeah.
Um,
They do dive a bit. And it could, I mean, maybe a stiffer spring rate would be okay, but I mean, I'm not having problems bottoming out now. And I mean, I kind of like it though. You come into a corner. One thing, this uses the dirt bike front brake. And so it's way bigger than a three-wheeler front brake. And it's got a much smaller tire. So you're using the dirt bike sized brake, for a wheel this big, and you're using a tire that big. And so I've never ridden a machine where you could do 80 miles an hour down the asphalt and grab that front brake, and it will absolutely lock that front tire up. And so something to get used to, but I kind of like it when you come into a corner. I use the front brake a lot. I'll come into the corner, I slide forward, like just like riding a dirt bike. And that's where it's a little different than the traditional three-wheelers. I slide forward on the seat, I grab the brake, and I come in just like I'm riding a dirt bike, almost like you can throw a leg out. And when you do that, the front end dives and it grabs and it just freaking, it's like it's on rails. So
that's definitely a technique for riding a three-wheeler that you would have to get used to with the technology I think that you guys have come up with in your three-wheeler design. um, Allows for that, because riding the conventional 250R,
yeah,
you're not doing that on a 250R.
yeah, you can't move up. I can't do that on my Honda either, my 350X, because you just can't move up. I mean, the seat comes up at a big abrupt, you're kind of in a saddle and that's just where you're at. The one thing that I'll say about the vintage ones, and maybe the TPCs too, I didn't get enough time on it, but you can really get off there. There's those classic pictures of Steve Wright and all these guys and Mickey Dunlop where they're really hanging it out there and they're off the seat. And you can do that on the classic ones. It's a little harder to do, believe it or not, on this one. But I don't find myself needing to do that. This thing, I don't know if you noticed, but like, it's very, very stable. And in fact, and I'm not trying to give TPC a hard time, but the TPC felt like, and I don't know if it's the rake angle or what, but it felt like it was a little tippy. You come into a corner and it kind of wanted to, and mine doesn't do that. And maybe it's just because I'm used to mine, I don't know. But yeah, they're two totally different machines, but they're similar in a lot of ways too.
I didn't notice that as much as it being tippy, as it didn't seem to um it wasn't a drifter.
Yeah.
I don't think either one of the modern day machines, they're more of drive through the turns instead of
Yes.
drift through the turns.
Yeah, they're the old classic, 250R, 350X steering with the rear, drifting in that. Um, you don't find yourself doing as much on the modern machines for sure. So, but I still think they're faster in the corners, even still.
I'm not gonna argue that point at all, because
Yeah,
I think overall the machine is more structurally sound and more rideability sound as well, where
yeah.
you could take a lesser skilled person, put them on a three-wheeler, and as long as they don't put their foot down, they're not going to have um, any trouble riding it.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
they're so much more stable. I think that if they were going to ever go back into production,
Yeah.
you'd want to take these aftermarket machines like this, that you and TPC are making, and mold it more after that style. There's a couple other versions out there that I've seen that I don't necessarily think that we should go that route, because I just don't feel that they're they're building three-wheelers for a recreational environment where somebody just wants to ride a three-wheeler. It's not that they want a three-wheeler that's going to give them a performance ride, if you understand what I'm saying.
Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind, and I know there's probably gonna be a lot of guys get upset at this statement, but come out and prove me wrong. Okay, I'm calling you out right now. But TPCs and what I build here, I think these are the two baddest desert racing three-wheelers ever made. And vintage guys are going to get all upset at that. Listen, I have 15 vintage three-wheelers out here. I just sold my Ducati. I've got a 250R. I've got all kinds of stuff, 350Xs and everything else. And I've ridden them. I've grown up on them. They're great machines. I love them. And in the end, I'm still going to have my 350X. This one might go away. Who knows? I'll have my 350X. But it's 40 years of technology. It's a huge leap forward with these machines. And I think, like I said, I think TPC, what I'm building here, they're the two baddest things out there.
So let's say I have a bag of cash. Would I be able to come and buy that machine from you if I wanted to put it into my collection and be able to use it for what I chose? Would that be something? No, you're not selling it as a business, but you're just selling it because you're moving on to a different platform. Are you?
Yeah, I mean, at some point, we're still, this one's still brand new. I have not cleaned it, by the way. It looks dirty here because it's got 1,000 race miles on it right now, and I haven't cleaned it, and I haven't gone through it. But we're getting ready to do some stuff with this. You guys will see. But this one's new. But yeah, I would turn loose of it after a certain amount of time. This one here, that's a question that I get asked pretty regularly. Like, if you were going to buy this one, you would have to weigh the money. Don't even waste your time counting it out. Let's just go by weight. I get asked all the time, like, what does this cost to build? And I'll tell you right now, and these guys, you look on Off-Road Modern Trikes or some of these other pages, and guys post them up for 10 and 12 grand, and people are laughing at it. And it's like, this one right here, there's over $30,000 in parts alone, and I have close to 900 hours of R&D. So at $100 an hour, add that up. That's what this bike cost me to build. I'm sure, I don't know if anybody's ever put that kind of money into one. I mean, the TPCs, that's a full frame and everything. So they've got that kind of money too, originally, tied up in them. So, I mean, you're talking, I know it sounds totally insane, but this is a $100,000 three-wheeler. That's what this three-wheeler cost me to build.
Well, if you think about, take the R&D time out of it, but if you just take the regular professional level desert race quad is all over 30 grand. So professional race level three-wheeler is in the same price range because it's the same amount of man hours. Just because it doesn't have that other front wheel, it has other portions in that front end design that take just as much time to work on.
Oh, absolutely. This machine now that we've gone through the R&D, obviously, if I was going to sell one, if I was going to build one for somebody, we can legally do that for competition use only. We just can't sell them. So if you brought me a dirt bike, I can convert it for you. Not that I'm in the business of doing that, but you could, now that we're past the R&D phase, I could build this machine for somebody else for far less, obviously. I could probably get something similar, maybe not totally the same, but something similar for 20, 25,000 if they wanted the absolute baddest desert racing three-wheeler, in my opinion. So
would you build a different manufacturer? Like if somebody didn't want to do a Yamaha, would you do a Suzuki or a Kawasaki?
So I would. The problem is we're back into that R&D thing. So, everybody knows, or I think most people know, that I'm a Honda guy. I'm a diehard Honda guy. I used to be a purist. I'm not anymore. And what turned me off was the Honda guys online. that if it's not a Honda, it's nothing, you know, and it drove me nuts. And it really prevailed its ugly head when I bought a Yamaha and I built that DT originally. There was a lot of, I couldn't believe I actually lost followers. People were sending me hate mail and stuff for building a Yamaha. It was really weird. And so, you know, so now I'm like, okay, well, I'll just talk trash about the Honda guys and the Hondas and stuff, even though I'm a Honda guy. So, you know, I'll talk crap about any of them. But anyways, I don't know, for if somebody wanted one, I would try to talk them into the most, you know, try to talk them into a build that makes the most sense. So if you are a diehard Honda guy, you just can't do this Yamaha. I get it. That's fine. And here's what I'm going to say: is I'm going to say build a TPC, build a TPC or build a Reds Hypertrike if you want a Honda. The Honda platform dirt bikes. Here's what I will say: if you want to take your Honda, your CRF 450, 250, whatever, don't do it. Just don't do it. That is, I'm sorry, guys. It is the worst platform you could start with for a conversion bike. Start with a quad and do it right, like the TPC and Reds Hypertrek does. Luke Peterson. And so if you want a Honda, build that. You know, Damien built a Kawasaki a while back at 450. There was a lot of things to overcome: the steering angle, the steering stops, the radiators were too forward and too high. So it really limited your steering. You have to move your radiators back. It was just a lot of work. And the biggest problem that I see on the motorcycle conversions is the shock in the back is totally located wrong on all of the other brands. And it just is what it is. It's not a big deal. It's not a flaw. It's just for conversions, the Yamaha is the easiest, simplest thing to do. And these 450s, I mean, they're no joke. They are powerhouses, you know. 06 to 09 is what you would want to start with on a YZ, or you could use a WR, which would be 07 to 11. And those are the best years to use because of the geometry with the rear shock and everything. And converting and putting all the quad stuff on it is really simple. And it works really well. The geometry is almost dead perfect on them.
Why would you not want to go to the new fuel injection style engine that makes more power, and with fuel injection would be ultimately easier to tune?
So yeah, and that's where we're at. You know, this one's brand new, but let's face it, it's still an old bike. And so what I started with is old, you know, in today's standard. And so yeah, it's carbureted. The thing I like about carburation is it's just reliable. You don't have the fuel pump to fail. You don't have injectors to fail. You don't have, you know, all of your map tuning in your computers and you don't have all that stuff. So it's really reliable. And the problem is you're jetting, you know, when you change, you know, from one race to the next, you're changing jets, or at least we do, because we race anywhere from Baja up to 8,000 feet up here. And so you can't run the same jets. You got to change them. And so there's a little bit of tuning where the fuel injection now is nice because now there's no tuning. We can run from Baja to 8,000 feet and never change a thing. And the computer knows what to do, you know, and it can adjust fuel accordingly. So that's really nice. The newer machines are making more power, let's face it. And the fuel injection's nice. The electric start's nice. So, you know, the only way forward for modern machines, in my opinion, is we have to start building modern machines. And there's some out there that are done really bad. We'll talk about that company. But there is going to be a new machine coming up here soon that you probably know about that's fuel injected, and they're coming for me. I know they are. So at some point, I'm probably going to have to step up and build a new machine myself.
Yeah, we'll see how the development goes over the next year.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, let's get a little more detailed into some of the things that you got to experience when you were racing the Yamaha this year. I know, being that it was new, how much pre-test time did you get on it before you took it to the starting line?
So the first race we did this year was, what was it? It wasn't Laughlin. Was it Laughlin? I can't remember. I think it was, yeah, I want to say it was Laughlin. About probably 5 miles, maybe 6 miles of testing. So, it was kind of like get it together, and you know, it was based on the same platform as the previous bike, and so a lot of it I knew would just work already. I knew the front end would work and everything, the frame and everything. I knew all that would be good. We already developed the swing arm and the subframe and all that, so it was basically kind of the same platform, so I wasn't too worried. And I'm kind of famous for slamming these things together and throw it in the truck and go down and go do a race. But I'm so methodical and so meticulous about how I do these things. I mean, a lot of guys, they'll just get on here and they build and they just grab a wrench and start tightening things. And I'm a little ridiculous. I actually go through and get all the torque specs, and I torque every single bolt, all of my, you know, I mean, everything gets torqued to the factory spec, Loctited, wire tied, you know, aircraft wire tied, everything, and then double, triple checked. So yeah, I didn't have a lot of time on it. We went out and we did good. The bike, it was kind of interesting because it was geared completely wrong. I had it geared, I don't know how fast, if it had the power to do it, you know, which it didn't. If it had the power to do it, I don't know what the gearing was, but it was geared to the moon. I mean, if I had another 40 horsepower, it'd probably do 140 mile an hour. It was ridiculous. So it was, you could get into fourth gear pretty solidly, but you were flying. I mean, absolutely flying, and you couldn't even put it in fifth hardly. And I did though. I got it in fifth for the road crossing at Laughlin there, and caught some air and stuff. And unfortunately, I don't think anybody got any pictures or video or anything. But it was geared way too high. So I drove that night. Got done with the race. I looked all over. Because I smashed the front rotor. I looked all over for a brake rotor, and Bullhead City, Laughlin, all the areas around there, and nobody had a rotor. So I ended up driving to Vegas, or I found a rotor, but it was the wrong one. I made it fit, still on there. And then I drove to Vegas and got a 13 tooth front sprocket, and went back and put that on. And then that allowed me to get into fifth gear, and that's the same gearing I'm running now. In fact, same chain, same sprockets, everything. I haven't changed anything. That chain probably has 1,500 miles on it, of race miles.
Yeah, that's a little over. That's a little overdone.
It was done 2 races ago, and I thought, you know, it was funny because I looked at it and went, it's not real bad. I stretched it, you know, it's all it is, just stretch. And I thought, oh, what the heck, I'm gonna run it, you know, just chance it. I normally don't do that, but I did anyway, and I got lucky.
So what do you have planned for 2024 with this machine?
I think there's a pretty big clue behind me.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'd like to hear you say.
So yeah, absolutely. We are super excited. We are finally doing something in Baja with my team, Goobtech Racing, and my good friend Julian Hofert, who you've had on a few times. Julian is a really close friend of mine, and yeah, we, as of tonight, we are actually entering the NORA 1000 for 2024.
Any of the other desert stuff that's going on in Nevada that you're going to run?
So I spent so much time this year with Bora and with Best in the Desert, and I'm missing 3 of my trophies, by the way. Not to call you out, but I have my Bora ones. They're all there. I spent so much time away from family and my new business that I made a decision. And I know it's funny because you make this decision, they're like, next year comes, it's like, we could do this. You could do it anyway. But my plan is honestly not to run. I'm not doing any seasons That's for sure. Vegas to Reno, obviously we've got to do that. This machine has yet to do that. So Vegas to Reno, and we have a local GP race that we're going to be doing here too. It is May 15th. It hasn't been announced yet, so I can't say what it is, but it's a GP race local here in Reno. And I'm building my 250R for that.
Well, so you're going to run three items. What is your new business, if you don't mind me asking?
So we have a mechanic business for semi trucks and equipment and whatnot. So okay. I spend a lot of time doing tires and brakes and stuff like that, and undercarriage stuff on semi trucks and engine repair too. So I've always done some sort of mechanicking or mining. And of course, in the mining, they always wanted me to be a mechanic, and I never would. So we got to work on mine equipment. But yeah, I just we work on semi trucks. So it's kind of interesting because it's not what I'm into, but it's just something I know.
So paying the bills is paying the bills, right?
Pays the bills, and you know, it's a good business to be in my area. And yeah, so hopefully we're looking to get a couple guys hired here maybe by springtime and get them into some trucks. I got a couple service trucks I'm putting together, and if I can get those guys in there, then we'll be looking at doing a whole lot more racing.
Nice. So, if one of the other teams calls you up and asks you to come out and ride on their team for the specific series races, you know, as a helper for these events, are you opposed to that, or is it you're only going to run those 3 events and that's it?
If it's a Honda, I won't ride it. No, I'm just kidding. No, but yeah, I would ride with somebody. In fact, and this is going to come as a shock to some people, but I don't really care. I actually offered to ride on TPC's team with a race that they're thinking about. That's as much as I'll disclose.
All right.
So, but yeah, I would jump on another team and help them out, and if I need to, absolutely. I'm friends with most of these guys anyway. You know, Dave Ham's a good friend, and you know, Wiley, and I mean, all these guys, they're all good people.
So that brings me to a sensitive style question, because originally when you and I started speaking, there was it was after you had ridden the 350X in Vegas to Reno, and there was some friction in the West Coast 3-wheeler crowd. What I'm feeling when I'm around you guys is that it's turned into more of a friendship amongst all of you.
Absolutely, yeah, it's pretty cool. You know, David Ham, after Vegas to Reno, was so awesome. He drove all the way up to Reno, didn't need to, drove all the way up to Reno just to congratulate me, and went to the award ceremony, and that meant a lot. And so, I mean, I can't say enough about David Ham. He's just a great guy. And all those guys, Sammy and Dave Wiley, and you know, all those guys are just great guys. I haven't had a chance. It's funny, I haven't had a chance yet to meet Bill Casey. I've talked to him a ton. I talk to him all the time, but I haven't had a chance to meet him. But yeah, I mean, you know, in racing, you're out there to beat the other guys, right? And so it kind of felt good. And Bill Casey's going to be watching this. I know he does. He watches everything, like as far as thriller goes. But I think I've told Bill Casey this story, but it may not be. I may have not. But if you haven't heard this, Bill Casey, this one's for you. So on 3-wheeler world, so I'm going back now, 2010, 11, something like that. 3-wheeler world. And also Race Desert, I announced that I wanted to desert race my 350X clear back then. And I had done it years before that too, but I went on there on 3-wheeler world and I talked about I was going to desert race my 3-wheeler. And Bill Casey messaged me and asked me, hey, do you know of any associations that are allowing 3-wheelers? And at that time, there wasn't. And so I was, trying back then to do it. And I was talking to Best in Desert and whatnot. And anyways, and so we started talking a little bit. And so I sent him some pictures, and I had some pictures of jumps and stuff that I was doing and this and that. And he's like, that ain't crap. He's like, your machine sucks. He's like, check this out. And he sent me pictures of his TPCs. Like, I don't know who the rider was, but the guy's doing knacks and heel clickers and stuff over these big doubles and tabletops and whatnot. And I'm like, dang, that was the first time I saw a TPC. And I was like, holy cow. But he was like telling me my machine was junk and everything. And I'm like, man, that's kind of rude, So I'll be honest with you, when I beat TPC in Vegas to Reno, I was so happy. And I was like, there you go, Bill, that's what you get. But it's funny because I didn't know those guys, and it turns out they're just all great. And Luke Peterson, all those guys, Kevin Adcock, everybody that's come out and race. Even Kevin Adcock, he called me out after Vegas to Reno 2021. He's like, I don't care what it takes. He's like, I will beat you. I'll risk my life to beat you, this and that. And and it's funny, he came out and his team beat me in 2022. I ended up breaking down on the other machine. But yeah, we became friends, and we get closer and closer, and that's what we're trying to do, is just drive out that negativity, the drama. I think all of us hate that crap.
Well, isn't it to take something that is not mainstream anymore, and it's kind of a fringe deal, to get more people involved, you need to make it more inviting. And if there's any infighting, it's not inviting.
Oh yeah. Yep. You have to make it fun, and that's what riding these things is about, right? We do it because it's fun. If it wasn't fun, then what's the point? And so the thing that I don't get is the purists that are like, oh, the diehard Honda guys. I'm going to bring them up just because they seem to be the worst. But the diehard Honda guys is like, oh, I'm never ready for June, blah blah blah. It's funny because in amongst my group, at least, we ride a variety. I mean, we got buddies that ride Kawasaki's and Yamahas and Hondas, and we don't associate with Suzuki guys, but no, actually, High Flight Seats, they do a lot of Suzuki stuff. They're good friends of mine. So no, we love Suzuki's too, but we all bag on each other back and forth. And I will talk trash about Yamahas just as quick as I'll talk trash about Hondas. In fun though, no drama, no, not really giving a person a hard time. We might joke about it, but really, I mean, if you like a specific machine, run it, build it, and I'll help you. These guys give me a call. I will answer every question I can answer. I'll try to point them in the right direction. If they want to build a Yamaha, this is the platform. If they want to build a Honda, TPC or Reds, and I just want to try and build people up and get them racing. Come out and come have fun with us, man. So, and if you're full of drama, then I mean, we can, I don't want to go down that path, and I don't think anybody does. But most of the time, you won't make it anyway. Those guys just they burn out and they're gone, and that's okay.
Right. Well, we had a get together where a bunch of us got together and did the story on the three-wheelers and talked about the different ones and rode them. I just think it was a great group of guys, and for being competitors with one another, you would have never guessed it by the way you guys interacted with each other, and the different builds, and then the standard 250R guys versus the modern day guys versus the 350X guys. And it was a good group, and everybody just wanted to ride three-wheelers. They didn't care.
I will say there is a big difference between that and race day. And I know you know this, but on race day, the switch is set on kill. I mean, when the green flag drops, David Ham's not my friend. So, and I don't think I'm his friend, and that's cool. I would stop, obviously, if he had an issue or something like that, or if he had an accident, or hell, if he broke down, of course, I'm gonna help him, he's my friend. But when it comes to the competitive side of it, when the green flag drops, I know all these guys can say, when TPC's out there, they're out there to beat me. I guarantee it. And I'm out there to beat them. So, it's kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, like friendly war or something.
Wow, that it's just typical competition. You go to the starting line with your buddy. I want to beat my buddy.
Yeah.
When the
Yeah.
race is over, we'll be buddies. But during the race, sorry, we're not buddies.
Yeah. We can be friends after the race.
Right. Bragging rights are everything.
Yeah. So, and don't get me wrong, like, what I've done is I'll go out and, like 2022, I had that DNF. And what I did was I chased TPC and I chased Luke Peterson's team. I got friends on all those teams, all those guys are my friends. And so I chased those teams up and I helped in any way I could because I just want to see them get to the finish line, So, and it's pretty cool because Luke Peterson won 2022, David Ham won in 23, I won in 21. So it's like, we've all got our fair shake, and David Ham's team, they put on a heck of a race this year. They're the only three-wheeler that's run all 3 years. And so that was pretty deserving of them to win.
That's great that you say that and are excited for those guys. I know that you did some chase work and we're out there working with the different teams. You called me during Vegas to Reno and gave me some updates, which I greatly appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
what it's about, man. Support each other and have fun, and there's no reason we can't be friends and still talk trash to each other.
Right, a good razzing is everything.
Absolutely. Oh, I catch plenty riding Yamaha.
I'm sure. Wrangel, I want to thank you so much for taking some time with us here at ATV-TALK and give us an update on your 2023 season. And again, for allowing me to ride your machine when we were out in the desert and trusting me with your baby. She definitely is worth the ride.
Absolutely.
Just for anybody that's listening to this, if you're thinking about a three-wheeler or you're thinking about the modern day stuff, getting a hold of Wrangel or getting a hold of TPC or David Ham or any of these guys, David Wiley, that's the thing to do because they're the leaders of the group on the West Coast that I know of. There are some East Coast people that you can get a hold of.
Absolutely.
I apologize for not having their contact information, but for some reason it's a little harder to get in touch with them. I don't know why that is, but it is. But
yeah, sometimes. Yeah, get a hold of me, Goobtech, GOBTECH_racing. Or David Ham or TPC, any of these guys will definitely help you out and try to get you guys going because we want as many people going as possible. So
exactly.
Yeah. And I had a lot of fun with you a few weeks ago, also doing that ride and everything. That was pretty cool because you and your brother are, when I was younger, I idolized you guys, and you guys were heroes to me. So for me to go out in the desert and have you ride my machine, it was like, man, I never would have imagined that happening. So it was pretty dang cool.
Well, your machine was way better than the rider. Let me just put it to you that way.
I don't know. No.
Trust me, brother. Trust me. I know because I was not up to par. Those machines were really nice and nothing like the three-wheelers that I used to race. And granted, for what we built back then for three-wheelers, I thought that we were, leading the way, and you guys have taken it to the next level a couple different times. And I really hope that the enthusiasts can get together and get behind the modern day builds like this, and give them the just due that they deserve, because there's a lot of work there. And being a builder myself, I see it, and I really appreciated it. You guys did a great job.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. So, and you, man, when we were out there though, and you were ripping, I don't know whose machine, I chased you a couple times. I know I chased you on a 250R, Paul, from Paul Build's 250R. And I think I chased you, I didn't chase you on the TPC. I might have chased you on Julian's 250R also or something. I was riding something else, maybe maybe the Banshee, I can't remember. Anyways, I was chasing you, and you were ripping hard, man. I was impressed. I was like, holy cow, I was eating your dirt.
Well, I mean, I felt I had to give everything the ride to my level that I felt comfortable with. I rode a couple of the machines and I felt very, very uncomfortable with them, so I couldn't ride them as hard.
Yeah.
I almost felt that it was me that wasn't up to par until I got on the modern day machines and we're like, oh wow, this is what it's supposed to feel like.
Yeah, they are better.
They are. I mean, nothing against Paul's bike. It felt small and tight comparative to the big four strokes that just
and
just
that's one thing I'm gonna, yeah, I'll agree with you 100%. And that's something we probably should have touched on just for a split second. But if you're a smaller guy, like if you're under 5'10", I would say, and you're lighter weight, if you're 150, 140 pounds, this bike might be too much for you. It's wider, it's longer. The TPCR is too. It's funny is you look at the rake angle and the width and the length and everything, they are so similar on the TPC and my bike here. And it's funny because we never measured back and forth. I never knew. You're not going to call up Bill Casey and say, hey, what's the measurement on your bike? He ain't going to tell you. But it's funny because we both came to similar conclusions, but the vintage bikes are smaller. The bars are closer, the seat's lower. And so for a smaller guy, he may not like this at all. He might say they're worse for him. And I can see that. So if you're a smaller guy, you might want a vintage machine. I'm 6'1", and David Ham, I think he's 6'1" or 6'2". We're all 200 pounds. Plus some of us.
He's got to be taller than that.
He might be. I know he's 6'2" plus, but he's a big guy, and most of these guys are big, and we get on these 350Xs and we're riding, we feel like we're like that, it's just, they're terrible. And this thing, you sit on it and you're just relaxed. You can sit on it, but it may not work.
I don't know if a smaller guy would say it's too much because there's things that they could do to modify it to fit them. With different bar selection, so on and so forth. But the bigger guy getting on a 250R, you're going to struggle to fit that to a 6'1", 6'2". I know there were guys that were that tall that raced them before, without the same options that we have today.
Oh yeah,
Paul. No offense to Paul, he's a smaller guy, and it works for him and it fits him. And
beautiful machine.
I think that it sets it up for him. I got to ride his machine and I got to ride the 350X. The 350X being a little bigger, being much more plus, not as harsh. The 250R was a little harsh. Maybe because you go from a 150, 160 pound guy to 200 plus, 220 plus guy riding it makes a huge difference,
Yeah, absolutely. And they all have their place too. This is a dedicated desert racer. So you're not going to take this machine and go put it on an MX track. It's going to be heavy. It's going to be a little top heavy probably. And so you would want to lower it, and we could do that. We could knock some weight out of it. I could take about 30 pounds out of this thing. We could lower it down and set it up better for track. But if you were going to compare this to Paul's bike for, say, an MX race, I'd probably rather be on the 250R, or especially like a circle track or TT or anything like that. So they all have their place. This one specifically, all I care about is desert racing. So it's like a lot of suspension, lots of ground clearance, and lots of power. So so they're all specifically built for, rider and or what they're doing.
And that's kind of what we were getting at, which is great that it's a specific design. Yeah, when you build your four wheelers, you're doing the same thing, whether you're building a motocross version or you're building a desert version. They have their pluses, minuses, weight, less weight, more weight, whatever it is,
Yep.
skid plates, no skid plates.
Oh, yeah.
So, I get that, and I think the consumer or the people that are going to buy them also get that. But again, if you're going to get into three wheelers, definitely reach out to these people that are building these modern day trikes, because they're a lot of fun. They really are. I mean, and I had ridden a three wheeler, and especially a three wheeler like in that environment, in probably 30 years. And
Yeah. Unfortunately, I would add to that, there's a lot of really bad modern three wheelers out there. I mean, a lot. And if you've ridden one of those bad ones, unfortunately, there's this feeling that all modern trikes are terrible because they rode
right,
we won't say, but and so
I got
there's
to ride one.
yeah, there's very few that are built right. And when you get on one that's built right, like a TBC or Red's Hyper Trike or mine, and you see the difference, that's when you're going to go, okay, yeah, there is something here. But it just takes, we've done the work. Bill builds entire frame like he builds, ground up machines. I've put tons R&D into this thing to correct all the things that people don't like about them. And to make them work right, because we need it to work right for racing. We're out there, it's no joke to be clipping along down a dirt road that's, Jeep wide 80 miles an hour. So it better be set up right.
Exactly. Again, Wrangel, I really appreciate the time that you spend with us and coming on the show. I look forward to having you on again, and we'll have to get together and do another three wheeler ride, maybe with a couple different version machines, and get some more guys out there with different builds and try them all out.
Maybe I can bring the 350X out next time.
Oh, well, I'd love for you to, because I get to ride Dave Wiley's. Riding yours would be make me happy. And I know that there's 4 or 5 other guys that we wanted to have come out. Mike Coe would if we would have gave him more notice, he would have showed up. Jimmy White might have showed up. I know Steve Wright around Baja. He couldn't, but he was really excited about it, and that's how we got him on the show. His episode will have already dropped by the time this airs, but
well, next time if we do that, I'll be calling Steve Wright every day. Come on, man, let's go.
Yeah, I think getting him out and getting him to throw a leg over would be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Yep.
Awesome, sir. I look forward to it.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, and it's always a great time, and the pleasure is mine, my friend.
All right, brother. You have a great night, and again, thank the family for letting me borrow you.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming out.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, don't forget to share us with your family and friends. The podcast is available on all streaming platforms, and you can find us on social media as ATV-TALK Podcast. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Rumble, and Twitter.